Great. So, Raghu, let's start this wonderful topic. I think this is a great topic that we picked about, which is talking about leading in the age of intelligence. And no, let's start. I mean, what's your first thought about this topic?
Yeah, it's a very relevant topic leading in the world of intelligence, Srini. Let's be a bit provocative. That's what I will say, which as leaders we have to do. So, among you and me and the colleagues that we interact on a day-to-day basis, our GCC counterparts, how many of us would have used AI in the last 24 hours for personal use or professional use, or at least some critical decision making using AI, say in the last 1 week, Srini?
Yeah, I know that's a fantastic question, Raghu, because before I think we start going out and preaching to the world about AI, as a leader, we should be conversant with AI and be in a position to use it for our own purpose learning before we talk to others. So, from my perspective, I mean, I use AI a lot in my day-to-day work, be it with respect to strategy, be it with respect to conversations that I need to have, or be it for my own, learning and development. I interact a lot with the AI tools. Of course, it's not just one AI tool; it's multiple AI tools. Just that I don't code, so I don't look at some of these coding aspects that these AI tools have. So that's a little bit of a gray area for me. But on a personal level, on a day-to-day basis, I use a lot. In terms of our organization, if I have to give a quick view of how we use, from a software engineering standpoint, all of our engineers use the Copilot software for day in day out code generation, code validation, and any sort of productivity aspects that they want to use the tool for. And recently, we also trained our entire testing team on the usage of AI for both manual and automation test cases, because there is a big push that while AI is being used, what's the real ROI, right? So our goal now is to understand, how this usage is translating into day-to-day productivity and time saving, and what is that being used for. So that's how we have largely been, using AI. But Raghu, I really want to ask you a different question, right? I mean, I started by saying that there are so many AI tools that are out there in the market, and day in, day out, there is some news or the other that's coming out, right? So, is there a risk of us as leaders over rotating on AI, right? I mean, do we just get lost in the information overload that is happening, or is there a way for us to distill that information? What would be your advice?
Yeah, it's a very relevant and fantastic question, Srini. We are in the age where what is relevant can become irrelevant by the time we sleep and get up, right? The virality is to unprecedented extent. I've seen one major wave in last couple of decades, which was a robotic process automation wave, and I was fortunate to be one of the pioneers in making that into an industry. But there, while RPA was a priority, there were various other priorities organizations were embracing. If I if I pass it on and I compare what is happening now, every organization in the world has become an AI organization. Every startup in the world is AI startup. Couple of years back it was Gen AI, now it is agentic AI. It looks as if every other initiative in the organization is not of that importance. Are we demeaning other initiatives? Is AI taking over? Partly it is yes, but there is also a lot of criticality in terms of organizational thinking, where if you don't do a AI project, you feel it's not important. Anything else is not important. But if you take Exxon, the oil major, irrespective of whatever is going to happen in the world, they have to keep manufacturing. They have to keep extracting oil as much as possible. It's only you want to focus on AI. Yeah, it's good, but is it going to help you make it better is more important. The whole oil refineries, right? So any other organization which is into the business of serving their customers, the core priority is to serve the customers. They can't defocus by focusing more on initiatives like AI. So all other systems that are there, the system of records, system of engagement, system of communication, and system of intelligence, every single system is there for a particular reason. It's not that AI is going to take over it. I feel with AI, what is coming is the system of context and how human being have to interact with the system. Uh, we should not be paranoid. At the same time, we can't go all in and embrace it and say we don't need to focus on anything else. But you have to make AI work for you rather than you working for AI.
No, that's very well put, Raghu. Because I think what I'm generally seeing is people get lost in all this information overload. That there is that whole sense of, am I falling behind? Am I no longer current with respect to AI? Versus what you're saying is don't lose sight of your North Star, which is essentially serve your customers, serve your primary stakeholders. And in that process, if AI is able to be an enabler, so be it. But don't make that as the center of your universe and try to deprioritize everything else. I mean, that's a great way to put it, Raghu. Just another sort of a twist, in terms of the AI conversation itself, is while every organization, like you said, is trying to look at AI first, or trying to do something with related to AI. The other parallel dimension that we are actively hearing is the anxiety that goes on in the workforce, right? Because with the amount of automation that is coming in, and probably the amount of news that people read every day, and related to layoffs, for example, and all of that being tied to AI, there is that whole notion of anxiety that creeps in, right? So from a leadership perspective, when the teams start worrying about AI, what's the leader's role, right? Maybe you can share your perspective, and then I can probably add mine in terms of what I've seen happening in the market.
Yeah, it's a very relevant point. We, on a weekly basis or monthly basis, we see the news of mass layoff or from the big techs that are supposed to be the pioneers and creating this whole AI wave. There is a good amount of anxiety, I should say, across the level, and relevant to the topic, leading in the age of intelligence. More we embrace intelligence, are we training the human, are the human training the machine so much that the value of human being is reducing? The answer is both yes or no. I was having a conversation with one of my young colleagues. He was speaking about the movie and the series Dune, where human being preaches and teaches the mission so much, it gets into a conflict. Ultimately, human being wins, but human being, after winning, have to evolve, and be evolved very fast, right? The stuff is, we have to take a lot of people along, and the anxiety factor is very prevalent when we are not able to take all the people along, because the leader sometimes itself is anxious in the current age, because there is a lot of uncertainty around the future that is emancipating, right? Two, when you feel you don't have a control over the subject, control over the topic, in this case it is AI, you are a bit skeptical, because you really are not able to connect with what is happening in the world. And a mere jargon taking in meetings is not enough, right? You have to preach what you have to practice what you preach. It's very important. And you have to give the comfort, and you also need to, it can't be a classical learning and development engine, right? You have to ensure that you are helping the team members, you are helping your peers, you are helping your subordinates, your HQ, wherever possible, the best way to embrace. But at the same time, if you're not the right person, if you yourself are in anxiety state, you have to have a discussion. You have to reach out for help, both internally and externally, and you have to constantly evolve and understand what is happening. And the best way is to practice and upskill yourself.
No, that's fantastic, Raghu, because we started our entire conversation with that point, right? If you are not a person who uses AI daily, how can you lead people in that age, right? And what you said just directly, relates to it. I think my take would also be that the addressing this anxiety of the workforce is where leadership truly gets tested, right? And especially if you're a senior leader and you're not spending time addressing, or you've never spent time addressing the anxiety for AI in the team, that's a missed opportunity, right? And in the absence of silence, people just build their own stories, right? And that's where I think people get distracted. People start, fearing the worst, and that can have a direct impact in terms of productivity, outcomes, and whatnot, right? And the media does its own magic by giving daily news about layoffs or whatnot. So I think the job as a leader at this point is not to pretend that the fear is not there, but the idea is, like you said, name it, normalize it, and then redirect the energy in a place or in a way that makes sense back to the organization, right? So for example, as a leader, you can tell your team, yes, AI is changing what work looks like, but our commitment is that we will learn and adapt together, right? That's probably the best way for us to help the workforce settle down and also commit to a learning roadmap, right? So that there is learning from both directions. So yeah, I mean, fantastic. Yeah, thanks Raghu, thanks for your time, and thank you all for listening in. And if there are any questions, do let us know, and we'll be happy to answer. Thank you.